The Minnesota Timberwolves are quickly becoming one of the, if not the best defensive team in all of basketball, and it has resulted in them having one of the best starts to their team in a very, very long time. And I think not a lot of people are talking about it, and I think a lot more people do deserve to talk about it. And literally, as I make this video, this is right after Draymond Green put Rudy Gobert in a headlock, so no telling how that game's going to end, but it really doesn't affect what this video is going to be talking about regardless. But the Timberwolves have legitimately been one of the better teams in the NBA to start this season, and not that many people are talking about that or giving them credit, and I figured I'd make a video on it to kind of do just that. So the first thing we're going to dive into is basically going to be the strength and the core of this team's success, which is the defensive side of the ball. This team is currently ranked the #1 seeded team in defensive efficiency this season. They've also given up the least points per game this season. They give up the least field goal percentage to their opponents per game, the second lowest three-point percentage, the 7th most blocks per game, the 7th most rebounds per game, and the 5th lowest offensive rebounds per game. And the reason I just offered you all those stats is because it shows you the versatility of this defense. It's not like, oh, they have Cat and Rudy, so they're just good at locking down the paint, or they have Jaden McDaniels, so they're just good at perimeter defense. No, they're legitimately good at guarding every part of the court, and Anthony Edwards is also a great two-way player. Don't get me twisted either on that. And overall, just this team's versatility on that side of the ball to be able to switch on basically everything and just be elite at everything that they do is extremely, extremely impressive, and not very often do you see an NBA, like a high-level NBA team winning a lot of games, resulting in it on the defense side of the ball in today's NBA. It usually comes from the high quality, sexy three-point shot looks that the Golden State Warriors popularized so many years ago at this point. But the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing the complete opposite of that and shutting teams down from layups, from three-point shots, mid-range shots. They are guarding everything, and on top of that, they're not giving teams second chances, and they're one of the best rebounding teams in the NBA. And when you combine great rebounding with great all-around defense, that is extremely, extremely hard to beat, because rebounding is probably one of the most underrated aspects to any game. Because if you're a team that has a great defense, but you give up a shit ton of offensive rebounds, that basically makes your defense all for nothing, because you're going to give them second chances, and more times than not, if you're giving an NBA team second chances consistently, they're going to take advantage of that and make your defense look a lot worse than it actually is. So for them to be able to finish possessions while also being a great rebounding team and just all-around great defensive team is extremely, extremely impressive, and is a ginormous part to why they have started off so successful. And one of the biggest reasons for this versatility on defense is the fact that everyone in their starting lineup is legitimately a good defensive player. Now, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns isn't bad. Like, he's no longer the liability he once was. Like, he's still a decent defender in today's NBA. And this season, he's actually gotten off to a pretty solid start on the defensive end of the ball, but he's still definitely an offensive first type big. But still, he is not even the liability he used to be, and that is by far their worst defender on that starting lineup. And that's not really a dig at Cat. That's more of a support and a shout out to the rest of the players on the defense side of the ball on that starting lineup. As look at the starting lineup they have. They have first Mike Conley, who, despite not being the offensive player he once was, he literally just doesn't turn over the ball. I think for the first 3 games of the season, he did not have a single turnover, and he was just an extremely, extremely efficient player, and he is still extremely efficient even kind of later into the season with about 11 games under his belt, as he is currently at 51% shooting from the field goal and 46% shooting from the three-point line. And like I said, he just doesn't turn the ball over. So when you have a guy that can give you an extremely efficient 10 points per game, on top of giving about 5 assists per game, on top of being a very solid defender, that is a great veteran leader point guard you love to have on your roster, and a perfect player for a recipe of winning basketball game. And then you have Anthony Edwards, who is very quickly becoming one of the best players in the entire NBA. He has developed into, like I said, one of the better two-way players the league has to offer currently, and he is currently averaging 30 points per game on 5 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, and also being an extremely, extremely solid defender with his athleticism and speed, and he's doing it also ridiculously efficient, shooting 50% from the field and 40% from the three-point line. Now, those efficiencies are likely to go down, especially the three-point percentage, but probably not that low, probably like 37, 36%, and that is still very efficient for a guy that shoots and tries to score and has to do so much on offense. That Anthony Edwards does is extremely, extremely impressive. And then you have Jaden McDaniels, who is one of the most underrated players in the NBA, especially on the defensive side of the ball. He's legitimately a top 5 perimeter defender in the league due to his length, his size, and just the versatility of what he can do on that side of the ball. And he's been, for a few years now, one of the best perimeter defenders and is a vital piece to this Minnesota team. And then you obviously have Karl-Anthony Towns, who's more of an offensive player first, give about 20 points per game, can spread the floor. He's very big and grab boards, but he's also no longer the horrible defender he once was, so he's at at least a decent defender on that side of the ball. And then you have Rudy Gobert. Obviously, everybody knows who the fuck Rudy Gobert is, a multiple-time defensive player of the year, one of the best rim protectors in NBA history, and he's just an all-around beast on that side of the ball. And then even some guys that aren't in the starting lineup, they still have great pieces off the bench. Like Kyle Anderson has legitimately been one of the best defensive players in the league off the bench this season. Like, he may be the best defender off anyone's bench. Maybe Peyton Watson has something to say about that for the Denver Nuggets, but it is very, very close. Kyle Anderson, as a vet, has greatly accepted his role as a perimeter defender. He's not terrible on offense. We know what he can do. He's just never going to light it up. His name is Slow-Mo for a reason. He has a very unsexy brand of basketball, but it is a very efficient and very win-oriented way of playing, and that is exactly what this Minnesota Timberwolves team loves to have on their roster. And then you have guys like Naz Reid, who's a very solid two-way big, and Shake Milton's even also a decent player. And they have other guys that kind of play sometimes, but that's kind of the main three off their bench that really give them that boost and that really drive on the defensive side of the ball that makes them so good. So not only is their starters extremely good on defense, but so is their bench. And then overall, this team just really works together extremely well because you have Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns to really carry the offense. Mike Conley can score when he absolutely has to, but Edwards and Cat is where you're going to get most of your buckets from. And then you have Jaden McDaniels to lock down any other team's best player, Rudy Gobert to lock down the paint, and then off your bench you have Kyle Anderson, who's a great vet that any team would love to have. Naz Reid can guard centers and power forwards while giving you about 10 points, and then Shake Milton can score also very solidly. So I think for sure this team just complements each other extremely well. They're a great defensive team with high offensive two-way potential, and that just really makes the ceiling of this team super high, and no telling how good they can be if they can stay healthy throughout the entire season. And they're just one of the better stories because not a lot of people expect them to be this good, and they got a lot of shit for the Rudy Gobert trade, and I still think they gave up a lot for that, but it is at least looking like it's going to work out. And with how good their defense is, they found their identity, and hopefully they can be a very good playoff level team by the end of this season. But unfortunately, guys, that's more for this video. So comment below. Do you agree with me? Do you think the Timberwolves, how far do you think they can go? How good do you think they can be on defense? On your thoughts in the comment section below. And if you like the point, hit the like button and subscribe button. I mean the word to me. And hope you have a blessed day. Can I have a blessed day? So you need a blessed day. All glory to God. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.